Hello guys, this is Noor here back in our group stages. Now I've got the first game coming up now. Sorry about the delay. Obviously the servers were having a bit of a problem, so we were just waiting for all of our people to come into the game. They are joining now. I'm here with Theory. How are you doing, Theory?
Doing great, thank you.
Good, good. So our first game tonight is going to be Manchester versus KVGS Kittens. And that's coming to you now. We'll be starting that up shortly. After that, we've got Swag Vicious versus Nottingham May. And after that, we have got Manchester versus Manchester Penguins, so a bit of a derby there. But hopefully we'll be jumping into this soon. Have you got any thoughts, anything going into this game, Theory?
Oh yeah, I mean Manchester obviously winning last split. Swag Vicious also placing second, so two really good games here with two of our best teams in the tournament. KVGS, who have recently been promoted to the Super8 after ACOG forfeited. So this first game's a real tester for them. Obviously, it's never nice to get promoted by default. So if they can prove their worth in this game, it's going to be really good for them.
Yeah, definitely, especially going against a powerhouse like Manchester. It'd be very interesting just to see how they do fare up against them. And if they do get a win here today, it does say something about them even as a team, not just as a normal win, but to come into the tournament, to beat Manchester in the first game, that really puts them a step ahead, and surely that'll put their name up there. People will notice them a lot more, and there'll be someone that's going to be talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they've already got What the Moose in there, obviously, a bit of a YouTube personality. He's got to really prove his worth because a lot of speculation on his teams always. And I want to see some good quality play. Manchester have this brilliant cohesion between their teams and synergy, and they often pull it out the back. We saw 2-0 in the final of last split, and they looked pretty unbeatable. So all to play for both teams right here. It's important to add as well that obviously this is the first week. But they've got quite a tough group, both teams, so they really need to start on a high.
Definitely, obviously, with that momentum winning the first game, that'll put a lot of the team spirits up and will give them the confidence to move on in this tournament. If you come off of a loss, they're not going to be feeling too great. And in that first week, them first points are very, very crucial. Is there any champions that you expect to be seeing banned out in this patch, in these games today? Is there any champions that you think will be sort of bans each sort of game that we see? Or are you thinking it's going to be more of a mismatch now? What do you think?
I mean, both teams play quite normal champions. Ari's been seen to be played, I think, amongst both teams. I know What the Moose is a good Fizz player and will most likely need that banning out during this game. Obviously, the Assassin's still reigning supreme. Greg has actually come out a lot amongst the bans in the last few weeks. He's really taken a surgence. So plenty of champions to be banned out here.
Yeah,
Zyra
definitely.
also a really key support for Manchester. They absolutely throttled teams last split with her. So could see that being banned out. Plenty of choices though for both teams here.
Do you think that we'll see with the patches that's just came in? Obviously, that assassin meta that's been going around mid took a little bit of a nerf, not a massive one yet. It's still very strong. With the nerfs to Zed, with the nerfs in general to the assassins with the items and that, do you expect there to be seeing any changes? Because obviously you said the Gregor picks there. I mean, Nidalee we've been seeing a lot of in solo queue and a lot of streams and that lately as well. Do you think we'll be seeing any of that tonight, or do you think they'll just stick to their sort of standard champions, just try and get the feel for them?
I mean, it's one of those things. It's whether how much they play during the week with each other. The poke strategy is really good. It's really strong, and if you want to play Gragas and Nidalee, you know they are strong. But it's whether they've had the time to practice those comps and whether they just want to rely on what they're used to.
Yeah, and as you literally just said, the Nidalee ban did come out, and the Zyra ban that you said Manchester have been so dominant with. They have been took away that from KVGS. They said we don't want any of that. And Riven ban as well coming out by Manchester. Riven, we've seen a lot of people start playing her mid lately and just tearing people up there. So that's quite an interesting ban there as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, she's strong everywhere, and I don't like her in my games personally. if she manages to get onto your back line, it's very hard to stop a Riven. So a good ban there, as you say, mid as well. She's taken another Surgeon. So we're starting to already see, even before the Season 4 changes, new champions come out, and it's going to be really interesting whether they're already adapting or whether they're going to stick with what they want. The two assassins coming out and being Bandari and Kassadin straight away. So obviously they're still a bit scared of both of them. Neither of them got too badly hit. So I mean that's a good ban coming out from both teams.
Definitely. I mean, Quarren, the mid laner for Manchester as well, plays a lot of Ahri. Not mid laner, sorry, but he does play a lot of Ahri. It's his most played champion. So does their mid laner, Mr. TD. So Ahri is a very contested pick, obviously, for both teams. But when you've got somebody that mains Ahri as his most played champion, has a very good win rate with them, then obviously they're trying to take that away. Jarvan ban as well. Jarvan very dominant in the jungle.
Yeah, I'd expect to probably see the Lee Sin being picked up right here. Obviously, you've got a top lane Lee Sin for KVGS, and also being picked up by Manchester by Druss. So we'll see if he's picked up early. Ezreal locked in right there.
The Ezreal. Mr. Awesome T is most play champion there, so they do like that Ezreal. They're going to try and secure that rather than it be contested. And Renekton on the other side. Renekton we've been seeing a lot of in pretty much every matchup now as a top laner. I mean, what champion would you pick into a Renekton from here? Very, very solid laner.
Yeah, but it's one of those really hard lanes that he's just very hard to close down. His brother, obviously, Nasus, going to take some nerfs. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw something just strong into the late game being picked up on that top lane. Maybe a Shen for the safety. Obviously, that Vayne being locked in there. It's always a risk taking a safe top laner when you've got a Vayne. You might want to go for a more bruiser type. Go for the assassination, so maybe Aatrox, maybe there's so many picks that could come out right here. So
yeah. Again, Vayne is the AD carry on KVGS's team as well, most play champions. They're both getting their picks that they really are comfortable with here. So that'll be a really interesting matchup in bot. If Vayne does manage to get a bit of kills, manages to get a CS lead, then obviously very, very strong late game champion. We can expect her to be very dominant in the damage. Thresh being picked up for Manchester, still in my opinion one of the best supports in terms of everything. He's got great engage, he's got really good disengage. And we're seeing a Shyvana being hovered over here. Shyvana's come out a lot in the last two patches. Do you have any thoughts on that, on the Shyvana jungle or the Thresh?
Her damage is really high right now. She has the ability to stick onto her AD carry. She gets so much damage out. However, if you take a really good kiting comp, Shyvana can be very weak as well. So Vayne, obviously, with the Condemn, your ultimate can get reset. She's got a speed buff, so she might be able to deal some damage. But it all depends on the engage here. We might see the Wombo combo come in here, possibly the Orianna mid. The Shyvana-Orianna combo's been going for a long, long time, and it's just so strong. Malzhar's being hovered over here. Nope, that's been changed. So I'm a little bit behind, so I might not see the champion straight away, but the Shyvana, it could go either way. The nice thing about it, and as you see, she's hovering over that exhaust straight away, is the fact that due to her dragon form being up so often, you don't need to take that flash. You're much better dropped for the exhaust. And that really comes in handy if you go for the level 3 top gank duel. You have that exhaust extra there. You can actually often take the first blood with it.
Yeah, and you see on the other side that Nami being picked to support. Nami, again, someone we've seen a lot more of. I think she'll be very, very strong in Season 4, but at the moment, she gives, as you said, with that kiting with the Shyvana, she gives that speed boost with the passive. She's got her Aqua Prison, which is very, very good at holding people down for peeling for Vayne or for engage. And you also see now that Vi being picked up. Vi, very, very dominant jungle. She has great potential for ganks, great shutdowns, and really good engages with her ultimate and with a Q. So I think they are both solid picks for the team there.
Yeah,
going
very,
back
very
over
strong.
As well. Yeah, definitely.
Kennen just there being picked up. Really good pick in my opinion right there. I'm guessing that's going to be a top lane and the Jinx being hovered over. And the Kennen versus the Renekton, he's really forced to build armor early, rush that Sunfire cape, take away his aggressiveness. but her AoE CC is really important within this team. If she can manage to get in and lock up a couple of those key characters, especially the Vayne, dealing a lot of damage, it means that the Shyvana can also get on top of her and really make a good assassination attempt. The Gragas actually being locked in there, so a champion that we thought maybe picked. And maybe a bit counterintuitive to the Kennen, but we'll see. We don't know quite yet what their strategy is behind these picks.
Yeah, I think it just covers their back. I mean, that Kennen, as you said, great not only for the engage, but for the disengage. When you've got the Renekton and when you've got the Vi, that are both going to want to be jumping into the middle, get the disruptions down, get the damage down, and with the Vi, they're going to be wanting to focus the squish characters here. It's great to have a Kennen who can shut that down. You've got your Thresh with the box for the slow. You've got that Shyvana who, as you said, is going to be really tanky if she can get in there, if she's not kited. And that Gragas, as you said, it's a bit counterintuitive, but still it lets him have the ability to not only engage, disengage, but also try and outposition them, try and get someone to move away from the group so they can catch someone out. Going over to the jungle on KVGS, we do see a Warwick locked in. We haven't seen a lot of the Warwick here. What do you think about that, Picker?
Yep, so I'm guessing that's a Vi in the mid lane. Obviously, got to be really strong. You're really going to struggle to get away as a Gragas versus a Vi and a Warwick with that suppress and the CC from the Vi ultimate. So the Gragas is going to really be forced out of lane here quite regularly. Going to have to play it quite safe. I mean, it's a tricky one because the thing is with Warwick, obviously he's that suppress, but when you're playing against Kennen and a lot of CC that can push you off it, it's not as strong. And Kennen, if he gets ganked, he can literally preemptively trigger that ultimate and rely on that being cancelled.
Okay, so we do actually seen a placeholder been put there, sorry. That Warwick was placeholder. Looks like we are going to have to just restart this. We should be getting back into it though, so obviously that's just a placeholder there. Just having a look in the chat now, just trying to sort this out.
Okay, so Warwick has a placeholder here, that's fine. So, do we know of the other
Victor
pick? Victor's
yes, for Victor.
Picked.
Okay, so it is going to be a Victor there. Again, another strange pick though. Not quite as strange as the Warwick, but still, you know, not a mid champion we see a lot of. He has great potential if he does get that kills, if he does get that farm. He does a lot of damage, but it's very, very risky.
It's a favourite of what the Moose actually. He's played it for quite some time. Quite a strong Victor player, as you say. He's a bit of an odd pick, and he may prove me wrong in this game, but I don't find him fast-paced enough compared to other carries to get that roam off. He has quite a significant damage, but I personally don't rate him as highly as some of the current meta champions. And when you're playing against a team as strong as Manchester, I'd really tend to pick those stronger current AP champions, the Nidalees, the Orianas, the Assassins. He had the Fizz still up there, and that wasn't actually picked. And I know he plays particularly good Fizz, so we'll see how this pans out for him in this game.
I completely agree. But again, it just gives them even more to brag about if they do get the win here. If they, you know, it's something that we'll have to see. But that will be laning against the Gragas. I don't think that matchup very highly favours the Victor. Obviously, he's still got his great poke with the Q, but so does Gragas with the barrels. So we'll have to see how that goes. I think Gragas has a bit better roaming potential than that, though. So we'll have to see how that goes. We'll just go back into the lobby now. Same band, same picks will be coming out, and then we will be jumping into that game for you guys. But with the teams locked in, who do you think has the better late game potential if it goes to late game here? I've got to sort of lean towards KVGS for late game. What do you think?
Yeah, but I definitely think KVGS has the comp that you'd prefer in the Champions decks. The Nami, tons of CC, and Vayne, obviously. Yeah, but whenever you see that Vayne, it's so scary, you know. As soon as she gets those 3 items locked in, she's going to have such carry potential. Renekton, also a similar situation where his damage is high and his tankiness is high, and you've really got to switch focus to deal with him. Victor, however, I'm a bit dubious of. Obviously, I don't see a lot of him, so to commentate on his late game may be a bit hypocritical or wrong of me to do. And that could be where the downfall is. You know, you've got a Gragas that if that Nami and Vi simultaneously try to engage, he can disengage with that ultimate, and then they can follow up with another engage from the Kennen. They've got a really good displacement and control team, and Manchester are so strong in their synergy that I can't see them not making their comp work. So it all depends on how well synergized KVGS are as a university team. That's what this comes down to.
They have got that sub as well in proxy. They haven't got their normal jungler there, so they are running a sub against one of, if not the strongest team of last tournament anyway, in Manchester. So it will be definitely interesting to see how these teams do face off against each other. But I completely agree with the Vayne, with the Renekton. Very, very strong late game powerhouses. Victor, I've seen quite a bit of Victor played. I've played him a few times, but nowhere near enough. I feel that he's not the strongest late game mid. I think he does fall off a bit, but I don't think he's terrible either. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I am curious to see how the team fights go down here. I mean, they're going to have really, really great catching potential, I feel, on both sides of the team. With that Nami and with that Vi, I feel they're two of the deadliest support jungler combinations, with that Aqua Prism followed from the Vault Breaker or her ultimate. I think it's going to be devastating for them. But again, the Gragas, the Kennen are going to be there ready to counter that.
Yeah, so, and you know, the what could really disrupt Manchester's comp here is that Victor silence. He gets his silence from the ultimate, and if the Kennen tries to make an engage here and is forced to Zhonya's too early, it could really disrupt the team fight. So if he manages to lay lots of CC down on top of that Kennen as he tries to get to that backline, it could be devastating. So it's going to be really interesting how this is going to work between the two teams. Wards are going to be key here, because if that Kennen's allowed onto that back line and to get a successful Zhonya's off, then I think it's going to be GG in the team fights. And similarly, if the Renekton and the Vi is able to get on that Ezreal and bring him down early, they could find themselves in a tricky situation versus the Vayne and the Nami CC to deal with the Kennen and the Gragas remaining.
It's all about protecting them key players in here, the Vayne, the Kennen, the Ezreal. Ezreal's obviously got the benefit with his skills. He's got a lot more mobility than Vayne. Vayne is not at all a small mobility champion, especially with her ultimate, with her E as well. With the Condemn, it's going to be quite difficult to get onto them, but definitely will be an interesting game. It's 20 seconds left of the delay, then we will be jumping into it. Think we'll be seeing any level 1s? If we do you think we'll have the strongest level 1 here?
I mean, in general, in the new, we've seen quite safe level 1s. A lot of wards being put down, and generally just avoiding giving away any early first bloods. However, you do have that thresh there, so Manchester may try and make an early catch, perhaps on the exploration of KVGS. And KVGS, you know, we haven't seen them in the Super 8 before. They may have an aggressive playstyle, and they may want to push the fact that they're an unknown team right here. So we will have to see.
Yes, it's as we're saying that obviously Manchester do have the benefit here for the experience and that. But on the other side of things, KVGS has had the chance to actually look and to study Manchester, how they play. KVGS, not so much for Manchester. They may have looked at them on LoL King, they may have had a look who they play and stuff, but they wouldn't have seen their strategies, how they play as a team. So I guess in that sort of perspective, KVGS actually has a bit of an advantage in that point of view. So we will have to see how things go down. I do think with the Thresh and that Manchester do have great capability of trying to catch people out. But I do think, as you said, we probably will just see quite a safe start here as we're loading up into the game.
Yeah, I think Manchester go in with the attitude that they're so confident going into the mid and late game and even their early laning phase that they often don't want to take the risk of potentially getting that first blood when they realise that most of the time, saying this in before the game, probably not the best idea, but most of the time they manage to secure that first blood and then start to move forward through the mid and late game really strongly. So to risk potentially giving away a couple of lane advantages when they play so well as a team isn't often worth it for themselves.
Yes, definitely. It's one of them. I mean, if you overcommit to the level 1, you can completely throw out your entire laning phase. You can give up the first blood. You can burn all of them summoners that you need in lane to survive, to be able to pressure. So, as you said, sometimes it does make more sense to not risk giving up that much just for the level 1, especially when you've got lanes as dependent. I mean, if you look at the Vayne and stuff, there's very, very dependent on that early game. If she gets shuts down early game, if she can't get the farm she needs, if she gets ganked and killed and doesn't have that flash to escape, then that's basically throws the entire game for her. So, yes, I do see where you're coming from. So that probably will be the strongest pick for them. Gragas is taking a little while to load into the game here. Just waiting on them now, and we will be jumping straight in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think KVGS right here have the potential to invade. The Nami bubble obviously is incredibly strong on the invade, potentially, straight away putting what, a 2-second stun is it basically onto as many people as you want.
Of course, she catches grouped up people. That is very, very devastating. But it is worth pointing out that KVGS do win the skin war here, so there's already a small victory for them at least.
Yeah, perfect for them. Though only 3 skins being seen in this game, so we can tell this is a university league and they don't have enough money to be wasting on their skins.
Yeah, I've got to be buying all that ramen instead. Don't have enough money to waste on League of Legends skins. But we will be jumping into it now. We are on 98% on the Gragas, and we are now into the game. So do you expect any sort of items here, crazy, or just standard thing coming out? We've got the Doran's shield start from the Renekton just for that laning phase. Doran's blade coming out, both the AD carries, so far it's looking standard.
Yeah, nothing very really standard going across the board. Gragas actually chugging up on those pots. He just wants to make sure he gets farmed to that level 6. Similarly with the Victor, I'd have potentially played this a bit more aggressive in the mid lane. Gragas actually benefits quite heavily from a early Doran's ring. But he didn't want to get poked down by that Victor too much. It's always a bit of a worrying matchup when you go against someone that you haven't played a hell of a lot of. You just want to play it safe. Ezreal actually taking a bit of a risky check here. They're going to spot them trying to invade onto this red side, but they're going to continue round and probably get a ward down here and then back off. We'll see. I do
feel. Carry on.
Yeah, KVGS. Just taking the normal kind of strategy. This is what's going to be expected from Manchester. They're a very experienced team, and whenever you see 5 people running into the jungle that early, you know it's ideally to get the ward control. Thresh standing on that top side by the blue. He's not actually ventured and put any wards down. Potentially they're looking to lane switch here with the Thresh standing up there so early, and Shyvana's just going to start on her red buff regardless of whether they see her or not doing it. So fairly standard across the board right here.
Yeah, but at least KVGS have that ward there. They do know exactly where the jungle is starting, exactly what path they will go down after. Manchester, as you said, they didn't go for any invade there. They didn't group up. They spread out, but they didn't put themselves into a position where they could have been caught out. Just spotting it, just expecting it and playing rather safe. So we do see now what's going. The jungle is starting to get their buffs. Red buff will be picked up over here for Manchester, while blue buff will be picked up for KVGS. Does look like Ezreal and Thresh will be heading to the bot lane, as well as the Vayne and the Nami. So we'll be standard lanes here, and then just going to see the laning phase happen now. It does look like Shyvana's going to go Wolves, possibly look at trying to get a gank mid if Victor does push up a bit.
Yep, and I think that ward's been placed into that top lane by the Thresh. They may be looking to take the level 3 fight here. Obviously you've got that Shyvana exhaust, just looking to get some early levels, and quite often when you see these early camps being taken, rather than going to mid, what they're looking to do is postpone their gank into the top lane, so they're not actually clashing heads with the opposite jungler, and then being able to take a gank after perhaps the Renekton's committed and lost quite a bit of health. So
yeah,
see what comes from this.
Do see at bottom Thresh does go into the Nami, and Nami does get taken very low. Ezreal does get the flash for the first blood onto Nami, so Ezreal actually picking up that first blood in the bot lane. It's going to be very, very helpful for them, especially against the Vayne. You know, they'll be able to apply a lot more pressure now. Got that XP advantage and the money advantage. We do see Shyvana going in and forcing the flash in mid as well. Quite a bit of action in the first few minutes here.
Yep, lots of aggression going down onto the Kennen in the top lane. Is brought very low by the Renekton, and the Ignite is blown, so no summoner spells from the Renekton or the Kennen left there, or am I wrong? Has the Renekton still got his flash up? Yes, he has. So Kennen forced to flash away. He still has his Ignite up himself, but the Renekton on lots of HP here and got the early lane dominance. Shyvana's looking to come around the top and apply some pressure onto this top lane with a gank. Perhaps she's got enough to take a kill right here. The Shyvana damage is huge with the red buff, and the Kennen's on enough HP to be part of this fight right here, especially knowing that the Renekton has blown this Ignite. Renekton goes very aggressive onto this top lane, and Kennen manages to get a stun off the exhaust coming down onto the Renekton, forcing the flash, and Vi coming in to follow it up. She's just going to back off back to the turret with Renekton.
Meanwhile, in that bot lane, we do see Thresh pull onto Vayne, and Ezreal actually picks up another kill in bot lane, killing that Vayne and picking up 2 kills there now. So Manchester are coming out very, very strong here. As you said before, I mean, Vi now actually trying to get a bit of... Nope, she doesn't want any action, she decides not to. But yeah, this Ezreal now is going to take a massive lead against Vayne. Vayne's looking at 14 CS, Ezreal's on 24 with them 2 kills ahead. How do you feel that Vayne can go from here? I mean, what can she do?
I mean, it's going to be a case of they're going to need that level 6 Vi gank. As soon as they get that level 6, you know, they've got such aggression that they could potentially turn this fight around, even with the 2 kills going onto the Ezreal early. The Ezreal and Thresh, though, doing a really good job, not only in getting kills, but they were stacking those minion waves up, forcing that Vayne to come up and put herself in harm's way from the Thresh grab there, similarly with Nami. And that's, you know, benefited them early so well. You do have 2 diamond players on the Manchester team right here in the bottom lane, and perhaps our strongest bottom lane in the LCS in the LCS right now.
Well, at least they've got that Vi. Vi's very strong at ganks. I feel that Vi's going to need to pay a little bit more special attention to bot lane to try and help out Vayne, to try and get them kills and try and get it more in her favour. Otherwise she's going to have a tough time, especially with the mobile champ like Ezreal. Renekton does go aggressive onto Kennen again. He gets that slice and dice down onto him, takes him to about half health, and then just backs out with the poke. But again, in bot lane, we do see more aggression going in. Thresh does get the flay onto Nami. Nami goes to about half health. They are going to carry on against the Vayne. Vayne gets Thresh to half health. It looks like they're just back away from each other now. So we are going for a bit of a trade. It actually looks like KVGS may have came out ahead in that trade in terms of damage. And then just going to try and be annoying onto Renekton. But Renekton, again, with that slice and dice, is very, very good potential to poke and get away quite easily.
Yeah, but the Kennen's quite happy just to farm out that top lane. He's more playing probably for the late game with the amount of CC. He's gone for the early Doran's Blade, so that helps both with farming and harassing quite well. Renekton does take a bit of a lead in that top lane straight away with 14 CS, however it could turn pretty quickly.
Thresh hands a hook onto Nami. Actually, Nami gets caught just below half health, and it does look like she will be able to back away a bit, but they do get the damage down onto her. Vi's going to come in now though. She does miss the Q onto Ezreal, but Vayne is going to try and chase this with Vi. This looks like he might die. I'm just waiting for him to die, but he's not going to. Yes, he will go down. Vayne is very low health though. Shyvana's here to pick up the kill. The flash! Oh, the flash did not go over the wall. She just walked into the wall there, so Vayne will go down as well. 1 for on trade in bot lane.
Yep, and both down to 2 errors. The Thresh missing his hook onto the Vayne to get the final blow when he could have in fact termed it with a successful hook there, and then followed by the Vayne with a pretty abysmal flash right there. Easy mistake, especially when you're under this much pressure in your opening game. Gregor's doing a really good job of farming up that mid, taking a 12 CS lead, and that's going to be really strong. But Victor's actually standing up in this top lane, losing a lot of experience. Renekton's going very aggressive as the Kennen plays ultimate, and Vic's picking up a kill onto the top lane. So he's not lost out on too much XP and gold, to this Gragas in the mid lane. Probably none at all in fact, but it's
Great
definitely
play.
put the Kennen quite behind here.
That's really, really good play from the Victor. Really good awareness to be able to go there and secure that kill down. It helps him out in mid as well, since there wasn't a lot of action there. He was a little bit behind on farm as well as expected with the Gragas with his range, so that really helps him out coming back to lane now. It looks like these junglers are both hovering around the lanes now. Shyvana's going top to help out Kennen, as you said. Kennen's a bit behind now, and Vi's hanging around bottom to help out her bot lane, who's a bit behind. So they're just trying to help out each other now, just trying to get their team back into the game. Still fairly even. I mean, Manchester are 1k gold ahead, so quite a big gold lead for 8.5 minutes, but definitely not out yet.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Vi's actually had to take back here, so that leaves the red buff very exposed. Shyvana's quite aware of this. I'm just going to head to the enemy red buff, spotting it with that ward vision, and she's going to probably be able to take this for free. The Renekton is coming over to try and stop her, but the Shyvana obviously has an advantage, knowing her top lane's there and the Vi being very slow to get back to her buff, so they successfully steal a buff away here. Shyvana's going to also ping that blue to give to Gragas, helping him farm with that mana regen.
And Thresh does actually end up hooking bot lane, and his box does go down. Vayne pops her ultimate, she does blow a barrier as well. It looks like she will go down here to the Ezreal. The stealth trying to help her out a little bit, but she will get picked up. And Nami get picked up as well. Thresh and Ezreal both dive in for this. Thresh is taken very weak by the tower. He does flash away though to survive. Ezreal is not going to get away, so Nami actually with some really good jukes into the tower then picks up a kill.
Yeah, maybe just a bit aggressive from the Ezreal and the Thresh right there. They've taken the Vayne out, they were going to put her further behind, and there's actually a further engage right here. Thresh trying to pick up the last hit on top of the Nami, but with successful ward in that bush, Vi comes in and secures the kill. So a bit aggressive from that bot lane, perhaps a bit cocky due to those first two early kills, and turning it around to the 2-for-1 trade there from KVGS.
Definitely, and the gold lead's still a little bit ahead, but not as much as it was, about 700 to 600 gold now. We do see Gragas hovering around this mid lane, just trying to get a bit more poke onto Victor. He hasn't had much success over this Victor, he's been very good with the roaming, but with this Gragas, sorry, he's getting outpoked a lot. That's the annoying thing with Gragas. He's got his sustain for his mana, but he's also very, very good with the poke. Gragas does actually use his ultimate then, displaces, nope, Victor will get back to tower. Not just hit the wall there, so he didn't quite just get him out enough for the damage, but he does get him under half health. Looks like there may be something preparing at bot lane as well. Shyvana's sitting in this brush waiting for Vayne and Nami just to come a little bit closer in lane.
She is sitting right on top of the ward, so the minion's going to attack her. She's going to be made aware of that. So just wasting the Shyvana's time right there, but it has allowed Ezreal to pick up and further that CS lead in the bottom lane. Shyvana's really looking to scout out Vi's jungle right here and take the advantage. She's also coming from the back of this turret. The Nami ulti is down for a short while. The Vayne neither has a flash. So she's going to play very aggressive here, diving into the turret. Thresh going very aggressive, landing those hooks right there, bringing down the Vayne, and they're going to continue to chase on top of this Nami as she tries to exhaust to save the second kill. Vi's coming in, but very late right here. Don't think she's going to be able to pick up anything, and she's just going to back off to her jungle, giving the first tower to Manchester right here.
Yeah, and while that was happening, Gragas actually managed to force the flash out of Victor in the mid lane. And we do see Kennen trying to go on Renekton here. Renekton actually gets the stun down. There's a bit of poke back, but it looks like them two again will just walk away. But Victor is without that flash mid. The gold now is again almost 2k ahead now in terms of Manchester, so they have took that lead back. And it looks like they're going to get Dragon now, so that's secured over to Manchester, which puts them almost 3k gold ahead at this point.
Yep, and I did say that they were going to take down that turret. Instead they chose obviously to do that Dragon, and that turret's left in such little HP that the next time it's going to put Vayne and Nami in a really dodgy situation if they want to stick around to farm.
Especially when you look at the levels. I mean, Ezreal level 8, so's Thresh, Vayne still level 6. So it's very, very difficult for him to defend that. In fact, Thresh will get the play onto Nami, he lands the hook as well, the Appledom actually misses, the box lands She does use her ultimate to try and get away, but Ezreal will pick that kill up, and as you said, this is the position Vayne does not want to be in. That tower's going to go down very, very fast, and suddenly she will have no defense protecting her from it.
Ezreal is in fact sitting on 5,000 gold right now. The rest of the team also, sorry, 2,000 gold, sorry. So
okay, bit of a difference.
Bit of a difference,
Purple team's turret
but
has been destroyed.
2,500 that's taken up to, so that's potentially the Triforce just about being farmed out there. Not quite sure if my math's perfect, but as soon as that Triforce comes up, the Vayne is in a really bad situation. She's very far away from a Blade of the Ruin King. Second Doran's being forced out of her just to survive this lane. So it's going to be looking probably another 10 minutes of farming, maybe 5.
At the top lane, Gragas is there actually for the kill, and they do get the kill onto Gragas going onto Kennen. The kill onto Renekton, sorry. Gragas there for the assist. So another kill picked up for Manchester. They're just getting kills all over the place. KVGS just seem very disorientated. They're sort of losing the momentum a bit here, and Manchester are just taking massive advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester's confidence is huge. Just the student has had this confidence all game to be stealing buffs away from Vi, from Proxy, who's a fill-in for KVGS. Gragas just been farming it out really well. Not too worried that his opponent managed to roam and pick up an early kill and really dominated that lane, as has the bottom lane. So looking very hard for KVGS to get back in that with a 3.5k lead. 4.5k lead, sorry, coming out of Manchester.
I agree, and Shyvana looks like she may be trying to gank this Victor now. Gragas is trying to bait it, and you will actually succeed to bait it. The Dragon Form does go down. Victor will get away quite nicely though, and Vi just comes for the backup just to let them know that she is there. They will just back away from that. So the mid is going to walk away on both teams alive there.
Yeah, but Gragas still with such a dominance on this mid lane, 40 CS ahead right now, and what the Moose is actually in a bit of a tricky situation. He's 2 levels behind. He's not quite got enough AP yet, well at all in fact, forcing a early Ruby Crystal for that Haunting Guise, I'd have thought, to clear those lanes coming up to the tower. And when you've got such a force as Gragas pushing down constantly, you're bound to lose a lot of CS to that tower.
Yes. I mean, Ezreal's got his Triforce now as well. It is looking for Manchester. They're starting to get these big items that we see have a massive power spike for the champions. So KVGS even going to struggle a lot more just because of the goal that they'll give up here. It does look like Shyvana again is waiting for a gank on top. Kennen does go on to the Renekton, but he cannot get a stun, so the Renekton will be able to back away from that. Not the easiest champion to gank anyway, or Renekton in general. But Nami now is trying to go onto Ezreal, but they actually land the hook from Thresh. The play backwards means that Ezreal will pick up that kill. And again, Vayne's put in a very, very dire situation for her here. She's quite a lot of levels behind the Ezreal, or she's 1 level behind the Ezreal, the same level as Thresh. It's not a position she wants to be in. That hook does actually land onto her though. They will get the play and the box, and Ezreal will pick up another kill. Victor's going to try and do what he can here, but with the Thresh there to support him, I don't think he'll be able to pick up both the kills. Vi is there though as well. Thresh is very, very weak. The flash over the wall and the Gragas there though will mean he will get away. Ezreal picked off by the Victor though. So very nice pickup still for them, but 2-for-1 trade.
Yep, and forcing that flash out of the Victor, so still pretty good from the Manchester team. Ezreal actually very unlucky that the Victor had his Ignite up there. But it's really hard for KVGS to get back into this. You know, they're in a situation where the Thresh and the Ezreal can most likely 2v3 KVGS, and they're going to have that Victor roam to that bottom lane so often.
Kennen actually forced to use his ultimate in top lane as well. It does look like he will pick up the kill on Renekton. Ignite going down for both. Kennen will just walk away alive, and he actually picks up a kill onto the Renekton there. So look at this goal difference now. I mean, getting to the point in the game where it's very, very hard to even talk about comebacks when it's almost 7k gold ahead. They're going to need to have one team fight. We haven't seen KVGS group at all yet. I think if they can pick up a kill, if they can, I would like to say catch people off, but Manchester aren't letting that happen. If anything, Manchester really, really is picking off people everywhere. So I think KVGS need to start grouping, need to start trying to control a bit more objectives and looking at getting kills that way.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester managed to take such an early lead that even pre-level 6 they were ahead of the lanes, and it's meant that Vise really had a tough time of ganking. Gragas doing a really good job of continuously poking down that Victor. Similarly, in the bottom lane, Vayne and Nami not actually being alive enough potentially to gank. So Vi's been put behind, and the lanes from Manchester have dominated so heavily that they've not really had to worry too much about ganks from the Shyvana, enabling her to further that lead and counter jungle the Vi.
Yeah, and they're going to just take Dragon again, just to even further that gold lead. Not even contested it. They don't even have vision of it. They cannot contest it at all this late in the game, especially when they're this far behind. So they will just walk away with that freely. It's getting hard now, even for the Renekton to start laning against this cannon. Even fighting one-on-one at close range, this cannon is starting to win the trades. He's still ahead on CS, the Renekton, though. He's got that items. We've seen him sort of mix items, actually. He hasn't gone for the items that would usually say. He's only got bits and bobs. He's got the Phage, he's got a Negatron cloak. So it looks like he's trying to go for that Spirit Visage, but he hasn't actually got it complete. That's when these big items that are complete on Manchester, the Triforces, he's got the Athenes, a needlessly large rod on Gragas. Such a big difference in these fights that people are just starting to be able to 1v. Cannon's just starting to 1v1 Renekton. We can even see Thresh putting a lot of damage onto Vayne before she's able to do anything either.
Yep, and Shyvana just trying to counter that jungle even further. Nami actually getting caught in a pretty tricky situation here, having waited that bubble, and Ezreal picking up the kill there. So that's going to put this bottom turret from KVGS in jeopardy, and going to further the gold lead right here. Gragas actually managing to deal a lot of damage onto this mid lane, and Victor and Vi are going to be forced to defend there, leaving this bottom turret very exposed. Vi and Victor do try to come round, trying to be made onto that Shyvana, but they just back off here. So I think this is going to be given up potentially for free unless this Victor can clear it, which he has done.
While that was happening, Renekton did try and go onto the cannon. They walked away both with half health, but it's very, very close. Could have gone either way, and again, just tricky positions at top. If either one makes a mistake, we will see them go down. Thresh actually lands a hook on Vayne through the wall. As the turret will go down, there's no protection here. Shyvana picks up the kill on Victor, and KVGS are just having to run away from this. There's no way that they can fight. They're all going down way too fast there.
Yeah, you know, Gragas doing a really good job of keeping that lane pushed, meaning that they could switch straight onto that mid lane. And the Victor just is so determined not to give them any more of a lead, that he was stood right up front for when that Vayne got caught, meaning that they couldn't disengage too well, and he just fell to the damage of Manchester. So that's the first inhib of the game going down, and a 9k gold, almost 10k gold here, lead here taken by Manchester. Kennen actually playing very aggressive onto this top lane Renekton, dealing a lot of damage. Potentially going to see a fight here. Renekton jumps onto him with his ultimate. Kennen counters it with his own, and the Ignite's just going to tick and bring that Renekton down in the top lane.
Yeah, but just again adding to the gold lead, 10k gold difference now. Manchester expects soon to either go for a big push and a 5v5 engage, or to force a fight at Baron, because they can easily force out a fight at Baron at this point. We actually see Shyvana hovering by the golems, not moving, so I don't know if there's a disconnect there, but Vi is just sort of going in and out on it, not knowing whether she's trying to play mind games or has actually done something there. So that may be a big thing. They will take top tower though, they're just, again, more cold at this point, you know.
And whether that's just some good manners there from KVGS, yeah, it was the Shyvana had disconnected, so really nice to see that in the new, that she'll actually let her live even this far behind in the game. Potentially could have clawed some gold back there, but instead just very good manners there, and I'd like to give a special shout out to Maxi for doing that. Well done.
Yeah, that's really nice manners. I mean, especially when you're this far behind, and I'm sure that the spirits are a little bit down, and they're probably looking for catch out. So it's so easy to have gone and done that, but he saw it. He kept checking. I see him kept going in and out, and he did just back away. So massive props to him there. Looks like it will be in pause, so we are getting straight back into this game now. So the action will resume here. Proxy is staying in that top lane, but Ezreal and Ken just going to back out with that tower. And just go home and cash in the money.
Manchester proceeding, even after those brilliant damage there, to steal the golems away in the top lane. So the feeling isn't reciprocated. They're actually having a difficult time even defending these super minions in mid. So I don't see how KVGS are going to get back into this. They're going to have to make a couple of really good catches. Lots of aggression going down onto the Shyvana in the top lane from the next Vi coming in and the dragon being forced. Nami actually caught right now. A lot of damage going to come out from the Shyvana onto her. Victor's chasing her down, but Kennen and Ezreal are here to back her up. So no kills as of yet. The fight may continue. Thresh is actually caught. An aggressive lantern being thrown out by there to try and get the Kennen into a position where it can engage, but just both teams backing off there after both actually potentially losing quite a few people in those team fights.
Yeah, that Thresh, I have to say, has landed some very nice hooks this game. The one onto Bane over the wall, that hook onto Nami there was very, very well done. Nami actually landed a bubble. I haven't seen Nami land any bubbles really this game. So there's one thing there, but you know, that shout out to that Thresh because they've been playing really, really well. And I think we're at the point now we're just going to see Manchester just choose a lane that they want to charge up, and they'll go down there and either force the fight or just start taking towers. Renekton does actually go in 3v1 on this. Does leave with his life though. He does have to pop the ultimate to survive from that true shot barrage, but that means that he has to either go back now, which he will, or stay on low health. So he's back now. They don't have Renekton while they try and force this turret fight here. That's quite a big thing.
Yeah, and with those improved stats on the minions, they've actually lost that bottom turret as well there. A big wave going to be forming into this middle area, and it's going to be really hard for them to defend this top turret, especially with the Gragas successfully poking. A lot of damage going out onto this Nami. Shyvana also trying to come round and see it engage right there. Vi brought very low just from the Kennen poke. Victor looking to assassinate his Ezreal and just so successful. Kennen tries to engage with his ultimate, not picking out anyone particular. Shyvana jumps under turret and they're brought very low right here. Thresh, Gragas and Kennen still left up versus the Vayne, Vi and Nami. However, the Gragas just saved that ultimate there, assassinating the Vayne in the end, and that's going to leave this top lane very exposed.
That was a 2v2 trade though, I do have to say. That was a very nice catch out by the Victor onto that Ezreal. That Ezreal did actually just melt there. So very nice damage there, but still, even when they're going even for trades, it's not what they want to do. Even a 5v1 trade here won't really put them ahead. There isn't going to be another slight engage. Greg's taken very low. He does die to Renekton's ignite there. Nice little flash from Thresh to try and get away, but Vayne and Renekton, two champions that are very, very good at chasing. So they may pick up the kill here on both of them. They will get the Thresh. They do hook Renekton just to try and stop that. And Thresh is going to take one for the team there. Just going to try and distract them while Kennen does run away. So Kennen will get away with his life. But KVGS is stuck in their base right now. They have to defend their inhibs. They have to defend their towers. Manchester can just do what they want now. Dragon is live, which they're going to pick up. They're just going to pick up the buffs. And they're just going to go right in a few minutes and do it all again.
Further aggression coming down from this Renekton, trying to stop that Kennen from stealing away the red buff. Obviously, as you say, Ezreal managing to pick up the dragon back there. Kennen actually still managing to steal that red buff regardless of the aggression from Renekton. Very, very cheeky right there. And it's just very hard for KVGS to hold on to any objectives, and in fact any of their own buffs. Thresh actually doing a really good job with those aggressive worlds on that top side, 3 being placed into some really key areas. Shyvana still trying to steal those buffs away even at 25 minutes into the game. Ezreal also doing a ton of damage right here. He's picked up his IE. He actually has gone for that those Ionian boots, which are slightly second rate in my opinion. With the bills currently being on the Triforce, I tend to go for those Berserker Greaves. Manchester actually caught in a really dodgy situation. Thresh right at the front. The Nami bubble does miss. The Vi being used onto that Ezreal, who's left at the back line to deal quite a lot of damage. Shyvana's brought very low. Nectar manages to get onto the Ezreal as he jukes away. Gragas right at the back of that fight right there, bringing down the Nami. Victor tried to get in and assassinate the Gragas. However, he managed to flash over the wall, and Vayne and the Victor left to run away from the team fight, both being brought down for the ace right there.
That was a 5-for-1 trade right there. Very nice try from KVGS, gotta give it up to them. Nami away from that, it did look like it were in a good position until Gragas got to the back, Shyvana was at the back. That Renekton just got kited for days. You cannot try and chase, and Ezreal and Kennen, they're not the two easiest champions to get hold of with that arcane shift and with the speed from Kennen. They will walk away from that. They'll at least take 2 inhibs here, if not any of the Nexus towers.
Yeah, definitely, and no, they did a really good job. As I say, before this match started, Manchester has such good synergy that when they've got so many knockbacks and so much CC, it's very hard to knuckle down on one of their champions. Ezreal stayed up for so long during that fight, just dealing free damage until the Renekton finally managed to get on him. And even then it was too late for the Renekton. They managed to bring him down. So lots of damage coming out from the Ezreal in that team fight. The Gragas then allowed, once the Shyvana had soaked up a lot of their cooldowns, to get into the backline and pick up a couple of kills straight away there. You know, it's very hard once Manchester have got into this swing where they've got a big gold lead to pull it back. They just execute it so well.
Even when they're only 200, 300 or even gold, they're still a very solid team in team fights, let alone when they have a 15k gold lead. So I completely agree. Thresh now is starting to get vision of that Baron and the surrounding area, so it may be looking at Manchester want to take the Baron here. They will start surrounding it. It does look like they're going to be moving in on Baron. Puts them in a very good position with this vision, because with the with the inhibitors down, the super minions spawning, KVGS have to defend their Nexus. If they go and contest this Baron and get caught out or die, then that will be GG. The only hope they have really here, the only safe option, is to just try and stay in base and defend. That Baron goes down very, very fast. Now looking now to move straight into the base.
Yeah, ping's going down onto that top turret, the only residing inhibitor turret right here for KVGS. And a big wave actually being stacked at this top lane, so it's going to be very hard with the limited amount of lane clear for KVGS.
Yeah, I hate that Wayne.
That Wayne's, that dirty Wayne. Waskening Wayne, some would say. So let's poke going down onto the turret right here. Bringing it down to half HP, and they're going to use that Baron buff to the best of their ability. KVGS actually not managing to do much at all with that being brought very low. Lots of poke going onto the Nami. She's forced back into base, so they're just going to go onto this turret right here and take it for free.
They're in a very hard position. KVGS can't really engage because they will get caught out. They do try and get a slight engage. Gragas does use his ultimate. Vi's going to jump straight onto Ezreal to try and zone him a bit, but even with that, she's at half health. Ezreal's still at full health. We do see Nami go down to Kennen. Vayne does get the kill onto Kennen, but Ezreal is just going to clean up here. He's still on over half health just from that whole team fight. Renekton's going to go down. That's going to be a 5-for-1 trade, and I would expect to see Nexus go down in the GG here.
Yep, you know, really well played there again from Manchester. They had overcommitted. The Gragas actually found himself in the middle of the base, trying to get the last hit onto that turret, and lots of damage going down onto him. But then they kited back so well with their CC, and it meant that Ezreal ripped through that team fight for the GG right there. Very well played to Manchester. KVGS by no means looked weak right there, however they were just outclassed by the Manchester team.
Yes, they're still a very early team. Obviously this is the first game in the Super 8, got a lot to learn still, but there is that potential there. They did not look bad at all. There was times in the game, obviously they had some really nice trades. It was just mainly that bottom lane. That bottom lane picked up a lot of kills. Renekton went fairly even, and still even late game had that CS advantage on the game. So their laning phase is solid, but Shyvana just did a little bit more ganking. Victor struggled a little bit in mid against the poke of Gragas, and that bot lane just got ganked a lot and just lost out to the kills with them Thresh hooks. The Thresh, as I said, landing a lot of hooks in the laning phase and actually securing a lot of kills early on, and just from there it went downhill, but still showed a lot of potential, and I can't wait to see them later in the tournament.